So Wearebornfree is a radio program we are making since February. We started to broadcast in January, and we want to connect many different social fights together. We want to connect the refugee struggles. We want to connect it to an anti-capitalistic movement. We want to connect it to feminist movement. We want to connect it. We want to connect it to different social movements. We want to connect it to the fight against raising rents. What we were thinking is that what is happening right now is that there are so many different struggles. And these many different struggles, they are also different. They are different in different struggles, so they are all separated. And our big aim is to connect, also to try to find a language together and try to broadcast it and try to also bring it together, and rather than build into conflicts, trying to find a language and finding an understanding for these different struggles. So Masta Sai, can you please put on some more music? Hello Bahar, you are now here live in our studio, in our open air studio, and it's not raining, the leaves are green. The weather will hold. People are coming in. You're here in our live studio. Hello.
Hi.
It's great to have you here. You have a mission.
Yeah, I actually wanted to use this chance to speak about the place that I'm living. That is also a political space that is seriously now threatened by eviction. Actually, Kanal is a self-organized space, queer space, that is mostly people of color or black people, refugee, migrant, Romeo people, and is a radical queer space. It's a bargain place. But recently we got from the newspaper that they want to evict us and make a state-controlled concentration camp for refugees that now is coming to word as a move modular for refugees. That we are against it, because it's actually, from one hand, we are against the logo, against the any state control space. For sure the people need shelter, but how they want to have this shelter is the matter, and we are always against the logo. And from other hand, it means that our political space as a self-organized space that is also have the same topic, that the people are also the migrant refugees, is going to be evicted. So it means finishing of a safe space for the people who have the topic of being refugee, migrants, and also are queer mostly. So on the other hand, there are so many other political projects that their character is being self-organized, and getting evicted means that all of this project would be finished. It's not just about this around 20 people who are living there, but it's about all of us, and yeah.
May I ask how many groups are working in the Kanal? Like, how many are you representing there?
Actually, other than our political background, the people who are living there, there are like groups like I don't know, Dastan, for example, that is a Kurdish women self-organized group. There are like queer QTB Park Orga groups that are making their meeting there. There is like media empowerment groups that is there. There is a music workshop that is run again by the queer black people and people of color. There is a bike workshop that is self-organized again by the same people. And yeah, there are a lot of groups that actually, like a garden that is again by the Kurdish women run, or like yeah, it's a lot.
Hello, we are live at Reboot FM 88.4 megahertz and 90.6 megahertz Potsdam. Yeah, live. I'm Bahar. I'm from Wearebornfree Empowerment Radio, and today we are at Waldemarstr in Kreuzberg, talking to our guests, Lea, Jennifer from International Women's Space, Toya and Zari from Hamburg. Zari will also be co-moderating this show, and Mai, Rajaa and Bahar. Rajaa and Bahar are also from Kanal, right? Our motto today is Women's Spaces Everywhere, and we are going to talk about the intervention at the Refugee Conference in Hamburg in February, and especially about refugee and migrant women's intervention and protest during the conference. But first our guests here will introduce themselves and their activism.
This is Zari. We have whoever needs translation. How many people speak English well enough to understand? Das ist kein Problem, auf Deutsch zu unterhalten. Aber if you need a translation, wenn man eine Übersetzung braucht, from French into German, you could go to Selma or Ute. That's Selma, that's Ute. If you need English into German, who can do English into German?
Anna can do.
Anna can do English into German. So you need to go. Also geht zu dieser Frau, sie würde dir gerne helfen, okay? Wunderschön.
So, also wer Übersetzung braucht, geht's, also Englisch-Deutsch, geht bitte zu Anna. Sie sitzt da neben dem Essen. Und für Französisch hier vorne Selma, glaube ich. Ja, genau. Now we'll come back to the introductions. I first have here my co-moderator, Zari, and she will introduce herself and her activism shortly.
Oh, okay, I've got to keep it down to 1 minute. I came to Germany in 1981. I studied art. I'm an artist. My family came from India. I was born in Chicago. And so I guess I'm an immigrant or a double immigrant. I don't know. Now I've gone from from Berlin to Hamburg, and now I'm back in Berlin. And I know this area, and I'm really worried about the gentrification that's going on here in relationship to the situation of immigration and refugee status or new people to Germany. So let the others speak more. I'll go to Bahar. Bahar?
Yeah.
My name is Bahar, and I'm an asylum seeker. I'm around 4 years in Berlin, and now I'm living in the Kanal, a radical queer wagon place. That's also most of my activities concerning self-organization and living self-determined in the Kanal. And I just explained about our situation now, and I can speak about it later more.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm Rajaa. I came to Germany 10 months ago, and I'm living in Germany. I describe myself as a feminist queer person, and the politically I'm join the media project in Kanal. I'm going there and join the project, and also I'm working in different projects. One of these, the website I have, it is called Our Issue, and it's describing the violence against Black people in the world.
Yeah.
My name is Mai Shutta. I'm coming to Germany end of 2010. My current work it's a long journey from Sudan to Germany. As I'm an activist and co-founder of the big movements in Sudan, and working with women, and mainly with the issue of FGM, female genital mutilations. And also I'm a computer engineer. I'm working towards activists for digital security, mobile security, in the way of non-violence and human rights defenders. I continue my work here in Germany with the Oranienplatz, but before that, in 2011, I was in Ireland working with refugees as a part of my work, nonviolence communications. And I'm continuing now. We hope that the fight, it will become result for our future.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Kamau. I'm from the International Women's Space. International Women's Space was formed in 2012. It started at Oranienplatz. It started at Oranienplatz, and we were part of the occupation at Gerd Hauptmann Schule, and we took some space, actually one floor of the school. And after the eviction, we continued with our struggle, and yeah.
My name is Toya Manly-Spain from Sierra Leone, and I've been living in Hamburg since 1994 permanently. I'm an activist campaigning for better immigration and asylum policies, and also worked in the coordination of Lampedusa in Hamburg and several other groups, immigrant groups in Hamburg. I'm also a musician and an artist, and work with different youths and children in aspects of diversity and anti-racism.
Hello, my name is Lea. I'm also from International Women's Space. I'm from Berlin. I was gone from Berlin for 5 years. When I came back, it was the time of the occupation of Oranienplatz, and after the squatting of the Gerhard Hauptmann Schule, and I joined the women's space there, seeing it as a way of combining the struggle against racism with the struggle of feminism.
Yes, thank you all for being here. And my first question is for Toya. I would be interested in talking to you about the conference, because you were part of the organization team at Kampnagel. And you, I would like you to introduce to our listeners the structure of the conference and what were the main topics, and so they get an overview of what we are talking about. And yeah.
Yeah, the International Conference for Refugees and Migrants was a conference which was initiated by members of the group Lampedusa in Hamburg, in cooperation with other refugee activist groups from Hanover, and CISPERM were also part of it. Kampnagel was not one of the organizers, but they offered the venue. There were also a lot of different solidarity structures and supporters who also assisted in the preparation of the conference. The aims of the conference basically was to create a platform where refugees and migrants from all over Europe, globally, internationally, could come together and network, also present their situations to the public, and possibly plan possible future actions together. This was as well as, creating a visibility and unity among the group, because it's the idea was to really build a stronger network amongst ourselves, and to see how one can create a stronger political force.
Yeah, and I know that all of our other guests were also actually at the conference, and I would like to know how all of you experienced the conference. What did you find? What was your general impression? What did you find empowering, and what did you find less empowering? I don't know, maybe Jennifer, you would like to comment on that?
The conference was the usual conference that with the usual structures that we are all aware of. But what was interesting for us to note, because from the beginning, when people arrived, and there was this situation of wanting to know what is where, and the introduction part, we had to do the introductions. And when it was our turn, I was on the platform with Bahar from Kanal, and there was a group of like 50 men. We were the only 2 women here, but we were not even being noticed. And we were speaking with Bahar, and I said, maybe we move a little bit closer, they will see us. And even moving closer and staying for 5 minutes, they didn't see us. And then Bahar suggested, maybe you can ask them to let us speak, and then they will continue. And I did that. And I said, maybe you let us introduce, because you make a balance, and then you can continue. It's like nothing happened until I had to physically take the mic and say, we are here and we will occupy. We have to be visible in these spaces. This was the sign to show just how much the structures were not already, the women issues were not even in place in this kind of organization. So from the beginning of the conference, we already saw the red signs.
And would you say this issue of visibility is what led to the big intervention when you, on the second day of the conference, you occupied the stage where there was a panel about self-organization, and there were almost only men on the panel, and Latoya too, or would you like to say something?
Let Latoya.
Yeah, no, that was not a panel with only men. That was actually a panel with mainly women.
Ah, okay.
The prior one.
So that was one of the contradictions.
Yeah.
That was a panel which I was leading. Zari was one of my guests. There were all the several women invited on this panel. And I think we had only one male guest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, okay, that's, yeah, but what would you say led to this intervention, and why did you occupy the stage if, why did you take the stance, and what was your inspiration to do that?
Okay.
Yes.
We should ask Rajaa.
I just follow what Jennifer she said. I asked to give workshops, and the invitation was 2 months before the actual day for the conference. Usually when you invite somebody, you ask what you need exactly if you want to present your work. And actually no questions about it, but I take the chance and I tell them that I need a place that they have electricity, Beamer, because I have PowerPoints. This one thing. Since that time, nobody answered, and I was arriving midnight because I come from other countries, and I don't know who to ask. The person who was invited, I wrote an email midnight, and I asked tomorrow, I have my presentation around 11, but nobody react, and we organize ourselves. We find a place that is behind the buildings. It's like a bush place where they have this container. And we struggled like 1 hour to direct the people to this place because it was hidden completely. The second thing, because it's very hot. The third thing, because no equipment available, we have to hold our laptops and try to present it. And some people get lost. We delay for the workshops. This is one of the reasons. The second reason, people, they start after me. They had small discussions why we are here. Why we have to stay here, because one thing, nobody knows what we are doing. And the reason why we started, there are small discussions. Some people, we try to address to those women who have the workshops to ask them to stop. Although this is not our fault, the people who organize, they should make a space for us. but this space, it should be visible space, it's not behind the buildings. Some of our people who are in the workshop try to organize themselves, and we said, let's go for a small march and to occupy the biggest space. And we have information that is the biggest space was in the big panel discussions, and they have a translator. We don't have a translator. We speak in English, we speak in Arabic. I translate in Arabic. Some people translate it in different languages. And even translator is not available. We started to march with others, and we occupy the place. The aim is not about to show them that we are weak or victimize ourselves, but we want to send a message, clear message that is, we are human beings. We should have a space like you. We have to be equals. This is our message. The second thing also is not about, because I heard after that there are people, they don't like what we are doing. They had a small meeting immediately after we had this occupying the place, and they tried to tell, but it's a man. They are a group of men, they're saying that we want to destroy the conference, and this is not true. We are not coming for destroying, we're coming for building, but building in the structured way, that everybody is equal, everybody has a space. And I think the rest of the people, they can also comment what we had been done in this stage.
Yeah. Maybe, Rajaa, you want to comment on that, and also, why do you think this women's space, the safe space that was made for women in Hamburg, why it is important to have the safe space, and what like Mai already said, what went wrong, or how to improve such an organization?
I think the problem starts from the misunderstanding of what is feminist, what is queerness, and exactly what is feminist, what is queerness for refugees women and for immigrant women, because clear for most of the white supporter what is feminist for them, it was something different how they describe to the refugees women, and this the problem start from here. Because if you make a safe space, what means safe space for women? It's not mean like the place that women, they will be discuss them issue together. Women, they didn't make them own problem alone. Even if they are part of the problem is thing happening in the society. So women included in society. So this, all the issue was the workshop done by the FGM, or the workshop of the woman space, the workshop of the woman in exile. All this workshop, it cannot be because the woman space was describing is a place women just they have to be inside. Yes, it's understandable because the world at the space is dominated by man, and this is how patriarchal world's going on. So of course was needed safe space for women, but how to misunderstand the idea of safe space for women and put in all the discussion and all the workshop done by women there, what that the sexism and racism was lead to describe how we see refugees women and how they see immigrant women. So we're not including inside this. We're not including in white feminists. We are not including in queerness. We are not including inside this. So still feminists for refugees women, immigrant women was misunderstood by this issue of food, children, problem, all this disgusting thing. And this, from this point, I think all the anger that women they start having from the first day. When I arrived there, was a lot of women was in tension, like they feeling not happy in the place, they feeling not including inside the program. You know, you could see it everywhere. Other thing they organize, that how the conference was organized itself. Yeah, I understand the work of solidarity, but I don't understand the work of charity. And I don't consider myself leftist to be served by someone when I can't do it. I can't clean the place. I can't make my food. Yeah, we can do it together, even if you won't help me, but you cannot do it for me. So I'm going to be I'm not able to manage my own issue. So I could not do my food. I could not clean my space to say. I could not decide which food I want to eat. This is a big problem. Cannot be any conference done under this condition of things. And from this point, I think the conference itself didn't make any sense.
Yeah, so basically, safe spaces for women should not be misused to exclude them from the political discussion, right? So maybe, I don't know, Bahar can maybe comment on that, because from the perspective of the Kanal, because you're organizing also in this context, or someone from International Women's Space. You can start. Yeah. Yeah, how do you understand a safe space, and how do you work politically from it? Because you consider, as far as I understand, the Kanal as a safe space for queer people. Yeah. So how to do it right, you know?
Yeah, I think first it's so important to understand, like, making a safe space doesn't mean that we are living in paradise there. I mean, must be first be understood that, like, when you have a safe space, it means that you try to bring all the discrimination that is like everyday life as much as possible less, that the people can work on their emancipation and like organizing themselves easier without feeling that also they would have the same experience as when they walk out. Like, if I go back to Kanal and I feel that there I can feel more safe and get less comments or any kind of discrimination, it doesn't mean that outside or my reality is actually changed. So changing the safe space to kind of isolation space would change the concept, I would say, of the safe space. Safe space, in my mind, as we are living, is just give this chance that we can organize ourselves without having to always fight back for something that is not changing by just having a safe space. So the fight is actually outside. And I am so much for what Rajaa said, that like the matter is not having that safe space, but is putting all the workshops that actually the audience have to be the people who are discriminated. They have to listen to this. The women themselves don't need to listen again to this. These workshops need to be open for all the people that give them this chance to listen to the problem and understand how they are discriminatory actually to other people.
I found that really interesting what you two said, but especially Rajaa, you said that women, like you as refugee women, migrant women, you are excluded from white feminist spaces and you're not part of it. And I would like to ask Zari actually what you think about that.
I think that that's unfortunately true. My experience in Berlin, I was in the Berufsverband Bildende Kunst in Berlin and now in Hamburg. And I did a lot of work with refugees in 81 from Sri Lanka and also people had come from Eritrea at that time and Lebanon. And what I found is that many people wanted to organize for the women, but didn't want to include them in the immediate, construction or creation of their own, of empowering themselves and creating their meetings. So if you give me an agenda as to who I am and I have to try to fit in, that doesn't work out. We have to be included from the beginning. In those days in Berlin, they said, well, if you speak German, it's okay, and then we'll include you. Well, I've learned German, so what happened?
Yeah, that's really interesting that this question of how we can create mixed spaces with white people and also with men. And maybe the International Women's Space can say something about that, because you are women from different countries and different backgrounds and different social positions. So how do you organize? How do you Lea, maybe you want to say something about that?
Yeah, we are a mixed group. We also, migrant refugee women and as well as white German women. And I don't know, from my position as a white woman here, I find it very important to find solidarity in experiencing different forms of discrimination and to be aware of the differences of discrimination. I can never know how it is to experience racism, but I know how it is to be also a marginalized group within society and to gain power from this and to gain solidarity through this. I think this is very important.
Yeah.
Basic on how you can work together. Yeah.
Yeah, I can very much connect to that because we at the radio, Wearebornfree Empowerment Radio, we are also a diverse group of men and women, white people, non-white people. And we still try to work together. And my question to you, to everyone now would be, how do you how would you like to connect with men to struggle together in the refugee movement or in the migrants movement or the activism against racism? Would you like to connect with men and fight together, or what is your vision?
Is before to work together. I think there is like other things have to be including, like the structure of the camp or the asylum system, the structure of the laga, the place is a place. You bring the people and you put them in an uncomfortable situation and very horrible condition of things, and they have to be there and they have to don't do anything. They have to don't do their own food. They are not allowed to have fire. Then they have to live for months. Even if you cannot cook your own food, you cannot have your own. Can be a criminal if you found the fire and to make your own life, you know. So you have to wait for the food in this time. You wake up, if you miss it, it's your own problem. So you are not allowed. So for me, the conference was giving me the same feeling somehow. What I have it in Braunschweig, the lager, it was the structure of the place was giving me, this is a little bit is the same, you know, but it's, these people that are smiley and there they are not smiley, you know. So it is somehow. And there also the domination of in the lager, that the space at the place is dominated by the man, yeah, like the space, the yard, because not because the refugees man, because the war, yeah. So that the system itself built to be like this, to be showing sexism, racism in different form, yeah. Because if I came here and I tried to register myself, the pre-registrating form in Germany is in Braunschweig. Like in my experience, what form write the name of the person, the name of the wife, the name of the children. So from this form, I reflect how the left scene still they are copy the system itself in the way of working. When they think about political, they think about men. About the action, they think about man. Even if they are feminists, it's very strange. They are not including women in the way of thinking about struggle. They think about man. They can survive. They can whatever. And in the reality, I can say, yeah, women they are more experienced with survivor, with struggle. You know, I can say more women they are trying to survive and build things inside this system with all the horrible thing more than men. A lot of men they fail inside this system because it's horrible, yes, not because their own problem, because it's horrible. But from the leading idea itself and how it's presented in man, we cannot work. I don't see myself I can work with cis man until the point we clear all the issue. Yeah. All this thing will be put on the table. After that, we can think. But we cannot think about work together if we didn't talk about what the problem. We didn't clear it, how we work together, how we come together. So because that I understand why I consider myself feminist. Because I think there's a lot of work have to be done at the beginning. After that, to think about how to be together at general.
So I'd like to direct this question to Toya. How did you experience the criticism as part of the organizational team at Camp Nago?
Yeah, before I answer that question, I just want to add something to the question before. And that is, I think, like, very important is to realize, like, the struggle that we are on is against all oppressive structures. So that could be male dominance, patriarchism, capitalism, racism, all these oppressive structures. And in our movement, we have to be careful that we don't duplicate these structures, these oppressive systems which we're fighting against. So that is very important. Then the second thing is self-determination. And the intentions of the conference organizers were positive, but I think if you are not respectful of people's right to determine their own lives and to determine issues which have to do with them, then there's a big mistake. And this was maybe what went wrong in the conference. Like migrant women were not involved in deciding, is a safe space needed? Is a space where should the workshops take place, and this sort of thing. At the same time, we were not expecting the response we got when the call was made. So there was a huge, huge response from everywhere to attend the conference, and the organizers were overwhelmed. The refugee migrants community, which was organizing, could not handle this influx alone. So in the end, you had like a lot of supporters having to jump in and make decisions in such respect.
So one last thing before I get to Jennifer, Toya. What do you think will happen the next time around? Do you think there will be a next time around with that group, or how do you see the future for all of us? And then I want Jennifer to address it as well.
Well, it's a learning process, I would say. I don't believe it's possible to walk in groups without ignoring the reality of the life we live in, you know. So everything which is out there you're going to face the same problems in your group. Mm-hmm. And I think it can only be a learning process. And there are intentions to have a second conference. And I hope that migrant women, refugee women will be involved in the preparation and involved in the decision making. And that would maybe be a first step to not repeat past mistakes.
Thank you. Jennifer, could you please continue to address this?
I just want to be very clear on something, because you are of this question of how the refugees will work together. It's very important to understand that there is no fight between man and woman. The fight is patriarchy. And it's very important if the men work together and understand that for us, it's the patriarchy system. And for example, when people come to seek asylum here, the number of women in this block of people is between 30 and 35% probably. And this group of 30 or 35% of women, the women come with the family. There's another group of women and children, and this is addressed as women and children. So the women who come alone in this 30 or 35% is insignificant. So what happened in the Camp Nagel was just a situation where a group of this very small percentage were together, and it only proved how things can make a difference when people are united and have the same thing in mind. So the fight is not against the man and the woman. We are all facing the same asylum procedure. We are still all fleeing from the war, whatever the calamities in our countries. But there are those challenges that we face as women. And this is what we want acknowledged. This is very important for us.
Maybe some of you would like to talk about these challenges that women face that are, different as in the refugee situation. Like what makes the experience of being a refugee different as a woman, and why is there no awareness for it?
I just go back to this point because of men and women's, because to be refugees in Europe, it's kind of shocking for the people here because the majority is coming is a man. And some people, they don't experience that women also, they have to flee from their own country because of war. The who is fighting is men. And all these things is the pictures that is people, they know that is women, they don't have problems. Since 2012 up to today, people there was aware a little bit about the issue of women's, but they don't consider that a big problem because women, they can stay home and they can care about the children and they don't fight that much. But since that time, we are trying to introduce ourselves, that is, we are here, we are fighting, we have an issue, not only men's. And this giving us, increasing our voice actually. And this is what happened in Hamburg and happened here in Germany, in Berlin also. The women was empowering themselves together. If you see now, we are diversity of women sitting here. We have different issues, different background, but in the end of the day, we have the same goal we want to achieve. But this is not including in the discussion when man is around. Most of the time, we ignore by them. And for my expectation, for future, that is, if we want to work together with men and women's, whatever gender you have, we should not blame each other. We should start to look what we need exactly to achieve, how we can respect each other, how we can make a space for discussions. Because if you discuss issue, you will get solution. But if you ignore it and try to build something, you will fail. And this is most of the time. I come to the point also about women. I don't like to put the blame in men. Some women also, they are not motivated. We have to be honest. Some of them, they are not motivated because they have a reason. One of the reason, family issues, culture issues, and also they are not politically engaged, but they're afraid to be because they're afraid to have their voice to be stolen by man. This is our task as the women, to empower them, to engage them and give them space. This is what we have to care about it. What is Geneva, she said, we are not coming here to fight men and women. It's not in competitions. We are here for an issue. Why we leave our country is not for happiness. We come here, we flee because we have problems. If we again repeating our problem here and we start fighting with our brothers and sisters, I think we never achieve what we want. For my recommendation to those women who are saying that is, yes, it is, I respect your opinion, you don't like to work with men, but for myself, I said, I will work, the man is my husband, the man is my family, that is around, I cannot ignore them. But how we can structure ourselves, how we can have a space for ourselves, how we can empower other women, how we can work together. If you have a clear things, I think that you're reducing the conflict. And this competition, I don't like it because I saw it often here. There are big competition going around. Who is the best? Who is the bad? Who is the strong? Who is the famous? And this is weakness our movements. And these days I'm a step back because I don't like this competition. I'm not coming for competitions. And also, as a woman, we have to aware that you have rights. You have to take it. You don't have to just step back and say, they take my thing, they was blaming me, they was stopping me. Yes, you have to fight. To take your rights, to introduce yourself, you should stay in the front line. You should not stay behind. Why those men staying in the front? Because you give them space. Why we have to give them space? It is our problem. We have to address it. We have to talk about it. From here, it is a personal stuff what I'm saying. We are different. We are sitting here. Everybody has different view, but this is my experience. If I want to fight, I don't care who I'm fighting. I care that we have to be equal.
I would totally agree with you that it's actually really important to fight hierarchy and oppression within the movement and activist structures that we have. If not, we cannot fight together. So I would totally agree to that. And I think Rajaa wants to say something.
Yeah. What I want to say is considering what Mai Shutta she say. I do understand your point of view, but I think you misunderstand what I say also in the same main sense. Like, what is cis man? Cis man is the one I think word is made to say at the place it's made to serve him. You know, who is the most important person. So from this point of view, I say cis man. I didn't address gender at the word. Yeah, I say yeah. Someone he believe in this method of think. So if you believe in this thing, there is not a graph to work around the thing. You know, there is not a way to deal together. So we have to clear other thing before we work together. That's how I see the thing for myself. You know, I cannot ignore like how I will face problem of sexism or of racism in different level, because I want to work together. I'm really tired of the general fight in the world, the women they do all the time, and I don't want to include myself inside this general work for the revolution. Yeah, this is also is a problematic, and I think that that is our problem as women in this world, in this moment, you know, like that what we earn from the history. When we are we describe everything as for the general. I think there is issue and there is reality. Situation of women in this world is shitty. From this point, we can after that work, whatever the gender that you say.
Yeah, Toya?
Yeah, first of all, I would like to say, like, not every woman is a feminist. And definitely, we as women have to take responsibility for the situation of women. We are the ones who give birth to the men, and we raise them. So there is a lot like which we can do in really also reflecting on ourselves and see how come what part do we play in this oppression which is taking place. I think there's a lot we can do there. Definitely we need spaces where women can come together without men to empower each other, to give each other, to deal with, to encourage other women to have confidence, to raise awareness amongst ourselves, and to build a strong platform. There has to be safe spaces like this. At the same time, we cannot be excluded, and we shouldn't. We should have courage to go out into the world where men are and to demand our rightful place there. There has to be women have to be represented. Our voices have to be heard in all movements, refugee movement.
Yeah, I also wanted to address this point of space, because I think this taking space is a very political act in itself already. Like we experience with the women's space, we are using different spaces for our meetings, and we choose not to take spaces which are especially for women. But for example, we meet in a Nachbarschaftszentrum, in a neighborhood office in Friedrichshain, where it's very much male dominated. And I think by taking the space, we are already raising a discussion which needs to be done. And also, yeah, it's everywhere you go. Also in the White Left House project, it's the organization. A lot of organization is led by white men, and coming there and taking the space and saying, "Hey, we are here. is also, I think, a part of pushing this discussion forward.
And probably, like we see in the situation of Kanal, it's really hard to hold that space once you have taken it. It's a fight in itself to maintain it, and you really have to struggle for it. And
I don't know. I like also to add to what is talked until now, that it's not for sure the matter who is more discriminated, but it's for sure matter that what privilege all of us have. And I don't know, like when you have some pain and anger, it's some way to find for working together, but all of us in front of each other have different privilege. And if we don't understand our privilege, then if we don't have this reflection, I think we can just reproduce the problem. And here is come to the point of, I don't know, intersectionality. I understand it in this way. Like, for example, when, I don't know, like, there are queer scene, for example, white queer scene in Berlin, that they are getting discriminated in one way, and mostly it's so hard for them to understand that in some other way, for example, racism, they can be discriminatory to other people. So it's so much matter that you cannot just focus on one topic, like saying, okay, just sexism, and go with this one and don't see that also there is racism, also there is trans discrimination. And if all the movement want to be inclusive to each other, for sure with all people who have pain and they are for changes. Maybe at the end of the day, some people feel that they have enough, I don't know, like they get enough from the society as a, I don't know, as like Rajaa said, like as a white cis man, for example, here, who have a German past, probably they get enough benefit that they are not so much for changing something, and maybe I don't find any way to work with them at last. But as long as I understand, most of us have some pain, and if we find a way to understand first what benefits we are getting from society and reflect about this, and then focus how we can put all our pain in some same way to change the system or change this structural problem, then we can achieve something. So I don't know, like for example in Kanal, as you said, is so much matter of the knowledge, for example, or accessibility to the resources that was mostly with the white people. And when the people changed and now the majority is not white, we had this problem that we didn't have this knowledge to run a self-organized or wagon place, actually. And it was actually responsibility of the white people to share this knowledge, this privilege they had, that we can also run these spaces. So, I mean, practically, I would say this is so much important that we have to start from our privileges, and then we can find a way to work together.
So I think we're coming very close to the end of our panel discussion, but I would like to ask Lea to say how you reflect upon this, having come from Berlin and being in a certain position, as well as to ask other people. But I think it's very important for you because on this panel you are at this point in the minority. One could say it's a majority-minority position. So please share with us how you see this.
Yeah, I think I can very much refer to what Bahar just said. It's very important to see the resources you have and the privileges you have with this, and how you can open this kind of, it's a lot about having access to networks, having access to connections which are useful for the political work, and how you can make these connections and join it into the struggle. And I find it always very hard again to keep reflecting, hey, what is my position within this group, and which role am I taking, and how will I address to this? Will I, like, coming to this discussion, will I go to this discussion as the only white woman? But I found it important also to join and to say, no, we have to find ways of working together and discussing together. And I very much like when I get a feedback of people of color or black people on you have to reflect on this and that, because it's the only way we can get further. Yeah.
My next question is for Bahar 1. Bahar, this is Bahar 2 and this is Bahar 1. Bahar, how did you feel being the main moderator, and how has your reflection changed, or what have you gotten out of this?
It has been a challenge, but our guests have very much contributed to this panel discussion, also to the preparation. I mean, Zari and Toya were here yesterday, and we already discussed what we want to talk about. And I find this really important to include the panelists in the preparation, because we don't want them to have any surprises, and I don't want to have any surprises either. On the other hand, I think I'm on this panel because I'm a woman of color, and I mean, in our radio team there are people with different positions and, as I said, different backgrounds, and but we are trying to give or take the space as women and to sit here and talk about things we can relate to and that we have in common. So that's kind of my position, and it has been actually really empowering, the whole preparation and this panel, for me personally, to get to know everyone. Yeah, and I have another something else I would like to say in the context of intersectionality. I mean, we talk about women's issues, refugee women's issues, and it's, of course, it's about feminism and fighting against patriarchy, but it's not directed against migrant or refugee men exclusively, because patriarchy is a system that all men profit from, and this is a movement of migrants and refugees, but also of the so-called supporters, which are people of color who have more privileges like me. So I just wanted to say that in this context of privileges and intersectionality, that we are not here to blame refugee or migrant men or something, because they too are suffering from this asylum system and from racism, and it is about finding ways to fight together and to build a common struggle against racism and against, for a more feminist society.
Okay, Mai, could you give me some of your ideas after hearing this? Could you reflect?
Which exactly?
Well, I'd like you to talk about intersectionality and some of the issues that Bahar 1 talked about.
Actually, for me, I don't have a specific group that I have to address and talk to them and work. We are all human beings. We're working together. Whatever gender you have, we have to respect each other's. This is the first thing for me. And for myself, for my experience, yes, I come from different cultures, different background. Rajaa knows that. We are not talking in public about it, but we learn a lot here to talk about it. And this is space for learning. Human being is human being. If you don't respect, I think we have to block the discussions. We have to respect each other's. We have to accept your gender or your whatever you're carrying, as long as it's not affected our movement or our work. For my side, I like to work with everybody. But what I said beginning, we don't have these competitions. We have to work to achieve our demands, our goals, and we have to work to address issue of women's, because it's very important for me, because as a woman, I'm fighting for others also.
Thank you for these last words. We are actually out of our stream at Reboot FM. You can continue listening to us live at metropolis.de.